The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when Ambassador Marcus Chin walked through the massive steel doors. But it was not respect. It was mockery. Every alien species in the room turned to look at the human delegation. Some laughed. Some whispered. Others simply stared with cold eyes. Marcus Chin was a tall man with gray hair and calm brown eyes. He wore a simple black suit. Behind him walked 3 other humans. They looked small compared to the giant aliens around them. Commander Voth stood up from his seat. He was a Krell warrior. His body was covered in thick red scales. He was 12 feet tall. His yellow eyes burned with pride. Sharp teeth filled his mouth when he smiled. Voth pointed at Chun with one massive claw. The entire room is watching now. Commander Voth laughed loud and deep. The sound echoed through the chamber. Other aliens joined him. The laughter grew louder. Chin stood still. His face showed no emotion, but his hands formed fists at his sides. Voth activated a hologram projector. A massive creature appeared in the air. It was the Razorback Alpha Beast. The hologram showed the creature hunting. Its body was covered in black armored scales. Long razor claws extended from its massive hands. Red glowing eyes tracked prey through a dark forest. The beast was pure killing power. Voth walked closer to Chun. He looked down at the human ambassador. Chun barely reached his chest. The Krell commander stopped inches from Chen's face. His hot breath smelled like metal and blood. The chamber went completely silent. Every alien waited for Chen's response. Some expected the human to run. Others thought he would beg for mercy. The Krell warriors smiled. They had seen this many times before. Weak species always broke under pressure. Marcus Chin looked up at Commander Voth. His face stayed calm. Then slowly a small smile appeared on his lips. The smile confused Voth. Why was this weak creature smiling? The other aliens leaned forward in their seats. Something was different about this human. His eyes showed no fear, only quiet confidence. Commander Voth stepped back. For just 1 second, uncertainty crossed his face. But then his pride returned. Chen's smile grew wider. What happened next would change everything the universe believed about humanity forever. Chen's words hung in the air like a bomb ready to explode. The alien stared at him in complete shock. Accept the challenge? Was this human insane? Commander Voth's confusion turned into a massive grin. His sharp teeth gleamed under the bright lights of the council chamber. The other Krell warriors laughed even louder than before. They slapped their armored chests with pride. To them, this was not a challenge anymore. It was an execution. Humans would die on their hunting planet within hours. Chun turned and walked out of the chamber. His team followed close behind. The door closed with a heavy sound. The moment they were alone, Chin pulled out his communication device. Chen's voice was steady and calm. He was not asking. He was commanding. Back on Earth, military command received a message. Alarms started ringing through the headquarters. Screens lit up with emergency protocols. This was now a matter of human pride. Failure was not an option. Within 6 hours, a small shuttle launched from Earth. Inside were 3 people. Each one was chosen for a specific skill. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez sat in the front seat. She was a Marine Corps chef, but not a normal chef. She had survived in 12 different hostile environments. She knew how to cook anything, even things that should not be food. Next to her sat David Jackson. He was a survival expert. Scars covered his arms from years in dangerous places. His eyes were always moving, always watching, always planning escape routes. In the back seat sat Dr. Sarah Kim. She was a xenobiologist. She studied alien life forms. Her tablet was filled with data about the Razorback Alpha Beast. She read every detail carefully. The shuttle flew through space toward the Krell home world. Inside the ship, Rodriguez opened a large metal case. Weapons were on one side. Cooking equipment was on the other side. Jackson stared at the cooking tools with confusion on his face. Rodriguez smiled as she checked her knives, both the combat knives and the chef knives. Dr. Kim looked up from her tablet. Her face was serious. The shuttle began its descent toward the dark planet below. Thick clouds covered the surface. Lightning flashed between clouds. This world was designed to kill, but humans were designed to survive. The hunt was about to begin. The shuttle landed hard on the wet ground. The door opened with a hiss. Thick, humid air rushed inside. The smell hit them immediately. It smelled like rot and danger and death. Chin stepped out first. His boots sank into the mud. Rain poured from the black sky above. The forest around them was massive. Trees stretched up hundreds of feet. Their bark was dark red, like dried blood. Rodriguez carried 2 large bags. One had weapons. One had her cooking supplies. Jackson moved ahead with a scanner in his hand. Dr. Kim stayed close to Chun. Her eyes studied everything around them. They moved deeper into the forest. Strange sounds came from all directions. Creatures they could not see were watching them, waiting. Jackson stopped suddenly. He knelt down and touched the ground. His fingers traced something in the mud. Chun and the others gathered around him. The tracks were massive. Each claw mark was as long as a human hand. The tracks were fresh, very fresh. Rodriguez set down her bags and pulled out a rifle, but Chin raised his hand to stop her. Dr. Kim pulled out her scanning device. She moved it slowly over the tracks. Data appeared on the small screen. Rodriguez looked at Chun with confusion. Jackson was already moving. He followed the tracks deeper into the forest. The team stayed close together. They moved in complete silence. For 2 full days they tracked the beast. They never saw it, but they found signs everywhere. Claw marks on trees. Half-eaten prey. Broken branches. The alpha beast was always close. Always watching them. On the second night, Dr. Kim made a discovery. She was analyzing samples from the claw marks. Rodriguez leaned forward with interest. Chin smiled for the first time since landing. They worked through the night. Rodriguez mixed earth spices with samples from local plants. The smell was strong and strange. Jackson set up equipment in a clearing near their camp. Metal poles formed a circle. Wires connected them together. As the sun rose on the 3rd day, everything was ready. Rodriguez activated the scent dispersal system. The smell spread through the forest like invisible smoke. They waited in silence. Minutes passed like hours. Then the ground began to shake. Trees in the distance moved. Something massive was coming toward them, but through the trees behind them glowing red eyes appeared. Then more eyes. Then more. Chen's face went pale. They were surrounded. 3 alpha beasts stepped into the clearing. Each one was bigger than the last. Their black scales gleamed wet in the dim light. Steam rose from their massive bodies. Red eyes locked onto the humans. The largest beast stood in the center. It was the pack leader. Scars covered its armored face. This creature had survived hundreds of battles. It had never lost. The alpha leader opened its mouth. Rows of teeth like daggers appeared. A roar exploded from deep in its chest. The sound was so loud it shook the trees. Birds flew away in panic. Smaller creatures ran for their lives. Rodriguez raised her rifle. Her hands were steady, but sweat ran down her face. The second alpha moved to the left. The third moved right. They were surrounding the humans, working together like trained soldiers. This was a coordinated hunt. Jackson hit a button on his control device. The metal poles around the clearing activated. Electric nets shot up from the ground. Blue energy crackled between the wires. The alpha on the left charged straight into the net. Electricity coursed through its body. The beast roared in pain and anger. It fell to the ground. But it was not dead, just slowed down. Dr. Kim threw small metal spheres toward the second alpha. The spheres exploded in clouds of thick red smoke. The concentrated scent bombs released pure pheromones. The alpha stopped and shook its massive head. Confusion replaced its hunting focus. But the pack leader was smarter. It ignored the traps. Its red eyes focused only on Rodriguez. She was holding the flamethrower. The alpha saw her as the biggest threat. The massive beast charged. Each step made the ground shake. It covered 50 feet in seconds. Its claws extended, ready to tear her apart. Rodriguez stood perfectly still. She did not run. She did not scream. Her finger rested on the flamethrower trigger. The alpha was 20 feet away. Then 10 feet. Then 5 feet. Rodriguez whispered something. Then she pulled the trigger. A wall of fire erupted from the flamethrower. Orange and yellow flames roared toward the Alpha. The heat was intense. The light was blinding. The Alpha beast stopped. Its ancient brain recognized something older than hunting, older than killing. It recognized fire. For the first time in its life, the apex predator felt something new. It felt fear. Chen's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. All three humans fired at once. Tranquilizer darts flew through the air. Each dart carried enough sedative to drop an elephant. The darts hit their targets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Alpha on the left collapsed first. The electric net had weakened it. The second Alpha tried to run, but its legs gave out. It fell sideways into the mud. The pack leader fought the longest. It took 6 more darts. The massive beast swayed on its feet. Its red eyes dimmed. Slowly it lowered itself to the ground. A low rumble came from its chest. Not anger. Something else. Almost like respect. Then it closed its eyes and went still. The clearing fell silent, except for the crackling of dying flames. Rain started falling again, washing away the smoke and fear. Rodriguez lowered her flamethrower. Her entire body was shaking. Jackson sat down hard on the ground. Dr. Kim checked her scanner to confirm all 3 beasts were alive, just sleeping. Chen walked slowly to the pack leader. He knelt down beside the massive head. For a long moment, he just looked at the creature. This magnificent apex predator. This perfect killing machine. Chen placed his hand gently on the Alpha's scarred face. He stood up and pulled out his communication device. His fingers were steady as he typed a message. The message sent with a soft beep. Across space it traveled. To the Galactic Council. To Commander Voth. To every alien species that had laughed at humanity. Chen looked at his team. Rodriguez smiled despite her exhaustion. Jackson started laughing. The sound was slightly crazy but genuine. Dr. Kim was already preparing the medical equipment. They would release 2 of the Alphas back into the wild. The pack leader would provide everything they needed. The Krell had designed this as humanity's grave. Instead, it would become the place where everything changed. 3 days until the council arrived. 3 days to prepare the impossible. The real challenge was just beginning. Rodriguez stood over the sleeping Alpha pack leader. Her chef knives were laid out on a clean metal table. Rain continued to fall, but they had set up a covered work area. The beast was massive even lying down. Dr. Kim ran her scanner over every inch of the creature. Green lights blinked across the screen. Data filled her tablet. Chen nodded slowly. He understood what this meant. Jackson helped Rodriguez prepare the work area. They needed to be respectful. This was not just meat. This was a warrior, a survivor, an apex predator that deserved honor. Rodriguez worked carefully. Her years of training guided every movement. She harvested only what they needed. The rest of the creature would be returned to the forest. The Krell believed in the circle of life. Humans would show them they understood this too. Dr. Kim continued her analysis. She broke down the protein structures, checked for toxins, studied the muscle tissue under a microscope. Rodriguez examined the meat. It was dark red, almost purple. The muscle fibers were dense and strong. She had seen similar meat before. Alligator, crocodile, monitor lizard, all predators, all delicious when prepared correctly. She began creating her marinade, soy sauce from Earth, local herbs that smelled like rosemary, a juice from a purple fruit that tasted like lemon, garlic powder, black pepper, salt. She mixed everything in a large container. The meat went into the marinade. Rodriguez sealed the container. Now they had to wait. 48 hours. Slow preparation made tough meat tender. This was not fast food. This was art. While the meat marinated, Rodriguez built a cooking station. She used local wood that burned slow and hot. The smoke from this wood smelled sweet, like cherry trees back on Earth. Jackson set up the dining area. Tables made from fallen logs. Chairs carved from stone. Simple but dignified. This meal would be served with respect. On the second day, Rodriguez checked the meat. The marinade had done its work. The muscle tissue had softened. The flavors had penetrated deep. She started the fire. Flames grew slowly. She let the wood burn down to perfect coals, red and glowing. The temperature was exactly right. Rodriguez placed the first piece of meat on the grill. The sizzle was immediate. The smell that rose from the cooking meat was incredible. Smoky, rich, complex, savory. Jackson walked over. He stopped and inhaled deeply. Rodriguez smiled as she turned the meat. Chun sent another message to the Galactic Council. 3 words only. Hours passed. Rodriguez cooked with complete focus. Steaks, ribs, even a stew with local vegetables. Each dish was prepared perfectly. This was not just dinner. This was a statement. As the sun set on the 3rd day, a shuttle appeared in the sky. It descended slowly toward their camp. The Galactic Council had arrived. Rodriguez plated the final dishes. Everything was ready. Commander Voth stepped out of the shuttle first. His red scale seemed darker than before. Other council members followed. 20 different alien species. All came to witness humanity's failure. But then the wind changed direction. The smell of grilled alpha beast hit them. Commander Voth stopped walking. His yellow eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The smell told him everything. The impossible had happened. His sacred apex predator. The pride of the Krell Empire. The creature that had never been defeated. It was dinner. Commander Voth stood frozen like a statue. His massive body trembled. Not from fear. From shock. From disbelief. From something he could not name. Chun walked forward slowly. His face was calm. Professional. He gestured toward the tables. Voth's legs moved without thinking. The other council members followed. A small blue alien from the Tixari species stared at the food. A tall insect creature from the Zix collective clicked its mandibles nervously. Everyone was silent. The tables were beautiful. Plates made from polished stone. Cups carved from wood. And in the center of everything the meat, grilled to perfection. Steam rising into the cool air. Rodriguez stood beside her cooking station. She wore her chef uniform. Clean and pressed. Professional. Chun remained standing. His voice carried across the clearing. He pointed to the forest. Through the trees, 2 shapes moved. The other 2 alpha beasts. Awake now. Free. Watching from a distance. They had been released unharmed. Voth's mouth opened. His voice came out broken. Weak. Chen's eyes were steady and calm. He gestured to the seats again. This time it was not a request. Slowly the council members sat down. Rodriguez moved between the tables. She served each plate personally. A piece of grilled alpha steak. Roasted vegetables. A small bowl of stew. The Tixari delegate picked up a utensil with shaking hands. She cut a small piece of meat. Brought it to her mouth. Chewed slowly. Her large eyes went even wider. She took another bite. Then another. Other delegates began eating. Cautious at first. Then with growing enthusiasm. The Zix collective member made a chittering sound that meant approval in their language. Commander Voth still had not moved. His plate sat untouched in front of him. His eyes were locked on the meat. Finally he picked up his utensil. Cut a piece. The knife went through easily. The meat was tender. Perfectly cooked. He brought it to his mouth. Voth chewed slowly. His expression changed. Pride fought with something else. Reality. Truth. Understanding. He swallowed. Then he closed his eyes. Chun sat down across from Voth. He cut his own piece of meat and ate it calmly. Voth opened his eyes. They were different now. The mockery was gone. The pride was still there, but changed. Tempered. Chun smiled slightly. Around them the other aliens continued eating. Talking quietly. The mood had shifted completely. What started as mockery had become something else. Respect. Understanding. Maybe even friendship. Dr. Kim activated a communication device. The galactic news networks connected. Cameras transmitted everything across the universe. Billions of aliens watched humans eating dinner with the Galactic Council. And they watched Commander Voth of the Krell Empire eating the Alpha Beast. The creature his people worshipped. The symbol of their strength. Chin stood and raised his cup. He paused and looked at each council member. 6 months later, human restaurants opened on 12 alien worlds. The most popular dish was Alpha Beast Barbecue. Chef Rodriguez became famous across the galaxy. Lines formed outside her restaurants every night. And Commander Voth became humanity's strongest offender. He visited Earth 3 times. 8 at Rodriguez's original restaurant. Told anyone who would listen about the day he learned the truth. The Krell Empire and humanity signed a treaty. Trade agreements followed. Cultural exchanges. Joint military operations. But the real change was deeper. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Something they would never forget. Humans were not weak. Humans were patient. Humans were creative. And humans always brought the sauce. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new rule was written. Never underestimate a species that can turn your apex predator into dinner. Never underestimate humanity. Chin returned to Earth a hero. But he never bragged. Never boasted. When asked about that day, he always said the same thing. And he meant it, because that was what made humans special. Not strength. Not weapons. Not technology. Understanding. Respect. And the ability to turn enemies into friends over a good meal. 1 year passed since that historic day on the Krell hunting world. The galaxy was different now. Changed forever. Ambassador Marcus Chin sat in his office on Earth. Large windows showed the blue sky outside. On his desk was a small statue, a gift from Commander Voth. It was carved from black stone, the shape of an alpha beast. Chin smiled as he remembered that day. The shock on Voth's face. The smell of grilled meat. The moment everything changed. His communication device blinked. An incoming call. Chin pressed a button. A hologram appeared. It was Voth, but he was not alone. Behind him stood dozens of young Krell warriors. Their scales were bright with youth. Their eyes filled with curiosity, not mockery. Chin leaned back in his chair. The young Krell warriors stepped forward. One spoke in broken English. Chan felt warmth in his chest. Pride, not for himself, for what humanity had accomplished. They had not won through violence. They had won through understanding. Voth's voice was firm but respectful. Chin stood up from his desk. He looked at the young warriors through the hologram. The connection ended. Chin sat back down. His mind wandered to the others. Rodriguez now owned 15 restaurants across 8 worlds. Her cooking show was watched by 3 billion aliens every week. She taught others how to prepare food with respect, how to honor the ingredients, how to turn meals into bridges between cultures. Jackson ran a survival school on Mars. Aliens came from everywhere to learn. Krell warriors trained beside Tixari scholars. Zix soldiers learned next to human civilians. Everyone learned the same lesson. Survival was not about being the strongest. It was about being the smartest. Dr. Kim worked at the New Xenobiology Institute. She studied alien life with teams of scientists from 20 different species. Her research helped humans understand their neighbors, helped aliens understand humans. Knowledge replaced fear. But the biggest change was invisible. It lived in the hearts and minds of every species in the galaxy. Before that day, aliens saw humans as weak, soft, easy prey. Now they saw something different. They saw creativity, intelligence, patience, determination. The Krell taught their children a new saying. It spread across the empire, then across the galaxy. Human colonies expanded peacefully. Trade routes multiplied. Cultural exchanges happened daily. Art, music, stories, food, everything was shared freely. The Galactic Council chamber was different too. When humans spoke, now everyone listened. Not from fear, from respect. Chin looked out his window at the setting sun. Somewhere out there Rodriguez was cooking. Jackson was teaching. Kim was researching. Voth was training warriors to understand not just to fight. And across the galaxy, billions of beings were sitting down to dinner, sharing meals, sharing stories, building friendships. All because 4 humans refused to be afraid. All because one chef knew how to cook. All because humanity understood one simple truth. The strongest weapon was not a gun, or a bomb, or a ship. The strongest weapon was understanding, respect, and a really good meal. Chun picked up the Alpha B statue. He remembered kneeling beside the sleeping pack leader, thanking it for the sacrifice, promising to honor it. He had kept that promise. Humanity had kept that promise. The future was bright, not because humans conquered the galaxy, but because they invited the galaxy to dinner, and everyone came hungry. Years from now, historians would study this moment. They would write books, make documentaries, teach classes. They would call it the turning point, the moment when the galaxy stopped fighting and started talking. But you knew the truth. It was not about one moment. It was about every moment, every meal shared, every friendship built, every bridge constructed between species. He placed the statue back on his desk. Tomorrow he would meet with new alien ambassadors, species that had never contacted humans before. They were curious now. They wanted to understand. And Chung would welcome them. He would share stories, answer questions, and if they stayed long enough, he would take them to Rodriguez's restaurant. Because that was the human way. We do not conquer. We invite. We do not destroy. We create. We do not fear. We understand. The galaxy had learned this lesson, and it would never forget. Chun turned off the lights in his office. Outside, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Each star was a sun. Each sun had worlds. Each world had people. And somewhere out there on a Krell hunting world, 3 Alpha Beasts prowled through dark forests, hunting, surviving, living free. One of them was the pack leader, scarred but alive. It would live many more years, have many cubs, pass on its strength, and sometimes late at night when the wind was right, it would smell something familiar, something that reminded it of fire and strange creatures, and a moment when everything changed. It would pause in its hunting, lift its massive head, and remember the beast that did not kill, the beast that understood, the beast called humans. Then it would continue hunting, living its life, free and wild and respected, just as it should be, the end of the beginning.